Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Shenanigans for the Matt Sports Chat show here on Sioux Falls Live. I am Pat. He is Matt. And now we are going to chat about sports.
Nobody actually calls you Pat, though, do they?
Some people.
Does your wife ever call Pat?
No.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever heard her use that
No,
before.
no. Some, it's weird because, like, when I was a little kid, my mom calls me Patrick because my dad's name is Pat.
Okay.
And it's a long story, but then when I got, most people start calling me Pat, and then my close friends call me Lyle.
Uh-huh.
And then I started using Patrick when I became a journalist.
Uh-huh.
It was a stupid story, but because whenever I'd say Pat Lally on the phone, people would go, "What?" Because Pat Lally, it sounds like one word.
Mm-hmm.
So I started saying Patrick Lally, and then it stuck.
Yeah, it's kind of like Klinsky always insists by calling Michael.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to call you Mike. And he's like, yeah, but Mike Klinsky. You got the K. It sounds like one word together. So Michael. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
But what's weird? People have started calling me Pat again. It's just strange. It's a weird world. And now for sports. Hey, I wanted to mention before we get started, Jax and Bison tonight playing in the Summit League tournament for the right to get
Elimination
game, last game of the season for one of those two up in Fargo
to be the sacrificial lamb
to get slaughtered on Saturday by Oral Roberts. But it's the rubber game of the year too. They're 3-3 on the year, and they're playing in the Summit League tournament. It's on live on KSFL TV channel 36 over the air, cable channel 600, or right here on SiouxFallsLive.com. Care of our friends up at WDAY. Dom Izzo on the call tonight.
Dom's getting to be big deal now, doing the play-by-play.
He's doing play-by-play up there, and we've been carrying a lot of those games through WDAY Extra, and you can watch that here. Also, if you're not watching Dom's show here, Hot Mic on Sioux Falls Live, you should. It's a great show.
Mm-hmm.
You were just on there last week.
Yeah, I'm on there fairly regularly. He does a great job with it, and it was always a good show when it was just the radio thing, and now that they've expanded it a little bit. I was on there when we were down in Frisco and periodically throughout the season. Dom has good guests. He knows his stuff.
It's fun.
Not just, Dom and all those guys at the forum with WDAY, with Forum Communications, not just all Bison stuff. Summit League, the Valley, they cover all of it. They do a great job.
And all the Minnesota pro sports.
Yeah.
So that's where I get most of my Twins.
Yeah, Dom usually lets me rant about the Twins or Vikings when I'm on there before we get to the local stuff.
Well, and he has Dick Bremer on there every week.
Does he?
I just saw him this morning. So it's a good show. You should watch it. It's not as good as this show.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Someday. We're working on it. We need that high level of production, highlights and such. But
I've been on other shows with far less production value than this one.
Well, you're on one every week.
In this building I have, so let's not shortchange ourselves too much.
How is the show about nothing? No, what's it called? Nobody's listening anyway, which has one of the best intros ever.
When John told me about it, I was like, that's just such a good name. You feel like you want to use it.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good title.
And it's you and John Gaskins. You do that every week, don't you?
We have not done one the last couple of weeks because we usually during the summer maybe cut back to like once a month because there's just not as much going on. But during football and basketball season every week, I'm perpetually threatening John to quit if he cannot find a way to show up on time because he's late for everything. And it's really annoying.
Or not leave in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And go to the bathroom.
Yeah. But no, it's fun. John's one of my good friends. So
yeah, it's a good show. I like it. I've been listening to a lot more sports podcasts.
John was a great sports radio. Is a great sports radio guy, but he lost his sports radio job in the pandemic, and I just think he needs to make sure he has an outlet to talk about sports.
Yeah,
so we're able to provide that. Yeah.
He doesn't do Canaries games, does he?
He works for the Canaries,
but he doesn't do the games.
No. He does. Okay. He still does high school football games.
Got it. Enough about John Gaskins. Sioux Falls Live. You have a story up right now about SDSU men's basketball, and you did one on USD men's basketball not so long ago. Portal, right?
Yeah. Well, between catching up with the coaches, and I did the story the previous week about what's going on with the Summit League as far as Western Illinois leaving and potential expansion, how the league as a whole is handling things like the portal and NIL. So I called Josh Fenton, the commissioner of the Summit League, and Eric Henderson and Eric Peterson. And out of those 3 interviews, I was able to milk about 6 or 7 stories. It feels like. That's how the pros do it, kids.
Okay, mark that in your book.
Yeah, but it's funny, USD and SDSU, they were in different places last year too, but now they're in really different places because, Eric Peterson has his first year. He brought back a lot of the guys that had been under Todd Lee, thought they could make a run. It didn't work out. They did not have a good season. Those players all jumped back in the portal again, and this time it was very much more like goodbye. And so they have a whole new roster. He went out, brought in a bunch of transfers. Some of them were guys he had prior relationships with when he was in Utah and other places, guys he had recruited before. They brought in a D2 big man, a point guard who played at, I think, Louisiana Tech. I mean, some pretty accomplished players.
Yeah.
So the talent level he brought in is pretty good. And PD had talked about, the Coyotes didn't have a lot of size last year. One of the smaller teams in Division One, didn't have a lot of athleticism. And then you factor in that AJ Plitzwhite, who was previously one of the best players in the Summit League, just wasn't the same coming back off that knee injury. I don't know if AJ is going to play again. He's in the portal, but he might just retire, after all the injuries. So they had to get bigger. They had to get more athletic. They needed to bring in some talent. They needed to get better on defense because they were a bad defensive team last year. And they addressed all those things. Now, does that mean the Yotes are going to be a contender in the Summit League? Maybe, but it can be tough to bring in 5 different guys from 5 different places and, build that chemistry, get it to work. We'll see how that goes. Then with SDSU is a little different. They graduate 2 good players in Matt Dentlinger and Alex Arians, but for the most part, bringing that whole team back, they're going to have a lot of experience. The big one, I thought, was getting Luke Apple back. He was one of their best players when they went 30-5 a couple years ago, won the Summit League, went to the NCAA tournament, 6th man of the year in the Summit League. He was going to step into the starting lineup last year, have a bigger role. I think he appeared in 1 or 2 games, just could never get fully healthy. And I had heard all throughout the season he might not be coming back. Whether it's an injury thing or he'll just enter the portal, see what else is out there. Sounded like he wasn't going to be back. Well, he's back. And then Zeke Mayo has been such a great player for them the last couple of years, took such a big step last year as a sophomore. You always worry a guy like that's going to go into the portal just because, hey, look how good I am. Other schools are going to want him. He's back too. So
that's probably the most surprising.
That's the biggest one, certainly. If they had lost him, he's the key to their team. He's their best player. So getting him back, getting Luke Apple back, that's big. But then I talked about in the article, they brought in a 7-footer.
Yeah.
And SDSU's never had a 7-foot tall guy. We'll see how good he is. He's 7 foot, 190 pounds.
Yeah, that's spindly, isn't it?
Yeah. He's a 1.5 feet taller than me, and we're not even going to say how many pounds lighter than me. So we'll see if he can, be physical inside when you're that. I would assume the Jacks have him. Hopefully he's eating something and lifting weights right now.
Yeah, that's right.
But if he can prove that he has the strength to battle down inside a little bit, I know he's a guy that can play on the perimeter. Doesn't sound like he's necessarily a project. They think he can come in and play. That's a big addition. And then I think what sort of is underrated with them, Matthew Moore is the big star out of high school.
Yeah.
Started his career at Wisconsin. Didn't have a great year last year. I think a lot of people were underwhelmed by what he did.
Yeah.
But, it was his first year of college basketball, really. And by the end of the year, he seemed to kind of be figuring it out. And then they've got William Kyle, a 6'9" center who's just bursting with tools, but, was played like a freshman last year. There were times you're like, man, look how good this guy is. And then at the end of the year in the Summit League tournament, he didn't play well at all. So if he takes the necessary step you would think a freshman would take, if Matthew Moore shows just the gradual improvement you expect out of a guy going from year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3, then you factor in having Mayo and Apple and those guys, you add a 7-foot center in there. And then we haven't even mentioned Oral Roberts, who dominated the league.
Yeah.
That whole thing got blown up. Their coach is gone. Max Asmus left. Connor Vanover left. I have no idea what Oral Roberts is going to have at all. So I think, it's obviously it's May, but but just with a cursory glance at what everyone's got, it's a good chance the Jacks will be the favorites in the Summit League next year.
Yeah, being 7 foot just makes up for a lot of things. Look at Vanover.
Vanover. Yeah.
Connor Vanover. He's not spindly, but he wasn't bulky either. I mean,
a lot of people made Sean Bradley comparisons.
Yeah, but
just the wingspan. How he could, he could shoot the three. He was maybe like Nate Barnhart is the kid's name, not a banger,
right.
as a 7-footer, but just the way you can space the floor. Connor Vanover was 7'3".
Yeah,
that's a little bit bigger, but he didn't have to be open to shoot a three.
Right.
Shoot
right over
over top of people. And he could do some things inside. And then defensively, obviously those guys are going to be big shot blockers.
Yeah.
But it's also just how you change shots, how you talk about how you spread the floor on offense, you shrink the floor on defense. He can be over here and get a hand up on a guy over there pretty easily.
Yeah.
So that can definitely be a difference maker. I'm very, very intrigued to see what kind of player he is, how ready he is to step in and play significant minutes. Again, I think they're going to need to put some meat on him and get him in the weight room and build some strength, because if he can be a 25 minutes a game guy, I think he can make a big impact.
Well, and when you've got a 6'9" center who's bursting with tools, that lets you don't have to leave him out there all the whole time either.
Right.
That really helps. Speaking of which, Grant from Nelson from NDSU, he seems to be doing pretty well out in the camps, right?
I think so. I mean, to be honest, I haven't paid a ton of attention. I know McFeely went out to the NBA combine, I think, and watched that and covered that. I mean, Grant Nelson was a special player in the Summit League. He's 6'10", 6'11", kind of that stretch 4 or 5. He can shoot. He can defend. I mean, he's just a real good player.
Yeah.
In the Summit League tournament game where they beat the Jacks in the semifinals, I want to say he had 22 points and 24 rebounds, something like that.
And, the NBA, it's a crapshoot at some level. Like,
well, it's just there's so few jobs.
Yeah.
There's only 2 rounds in the draft.
Oh, man.
And there's only, 12, 15 if you include injured.
That's why so many people go to Europe.
Or the G League or wherever. I mean, you can be – if you're one of the 500 best baseball players, you're in the big leagues. If you're one of the 500 best football players, you're in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you're one of the 500 best basketball players, you're playing for the Sioux Falls Sky.
Or in Spain.
Yeah. So it's tough to make it. But I know it sounds like he's got as good a chance as anyone that's come out of the Summit League in a while. I think John Concher, who played for Fort Wayne, I don't remember if he got drafted or signed as a free agent, but he's still in the NBA right now. Matt Mooney from the Coyotes got a cup of coffee with a couple teams.
But there aren't that many.
It's tough.
Yeah. So we'll be watching that. Actually, Dom talks about it every day. So as he should.
There's your source for that.
As he should. So you can catch up on all your Grant Nelson news on Hot Mic. What else are you covering right now? Oh, the Super Regional. Augie, we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah.
How about that? They up and down, and then just
it was wild. They I went out to go to an Augie game and talk to Tim Huber, Augie's coach, who, full disclosure, is a good friend of mine. We were amateur teammates for many, many years. And I went out there like in March or April, just kind of, how's the season going?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a rebuilding year. We've got a couple good arms, we've got a couple good bats, but he didn't sound terribly optimistic about their chances of really making a run. Kind of made it sound like, if we can just make it to the postseason, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up winning the conference in the regular season conference title, lost in the conference tournament to Mankato.
Yep.
Go out to the regional tournament. I called him before the regional, like, think you can win this thing? And to be clear, Tim did not say, no, I don't think we can win the regional. but he was kind of like, boy, a lot of things are going to have to go right for us to do that. And, they go out there and went 3-0, beat the host number 1 seed, who was the 4th ranked team in Division II, beat them twice. That was a big deal. And Tim's kind of a gruff, no nonsense, sort of almost Jimmy Rogers kind of dude. And he told me that after they won that he was really emotional, just because this team was a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
A bunch of new guys. They just didn't even really think this was on the radar. And now they're in the Super Regional. They're 2 wins away from going to the College World Series. And they're at home, and they're playing Mankato, their rival.
I was really surprised when I was reading your story. Like, it didn't sink in with me right away. they're playing in Sioux Falls this
Yeah.
weekend, right?
Tonight is today's Friday, right?
Right. Yeah.
They are really trying to hype this up as like a major event to have a super regional in Sioux Falls. I don't know if you've been out to Ronkin Field in the last few years. It's a lot different than it was in the old days.
It's beautiful.
It's a stadium now.
Yep.
You know, it used to be a field.
Yeah.
It's a stadium now.
Yep.
And I guess the attendance record there is 700 something, which doesn't sound like much, but in a small park like that, that's a lot of people. And they're hoping to break that attendance record. They're having tailgating, food trucks, free pop and ice cream, begging people, you know, bring your kids out, make this a big thing. They want to break that attendance record. And geez, you know, the weather's great,
beautiful day,
and they have this great rivalry going with Mankato. Tim Huber, Augie's coach, played at Mankato. He was an all NCC outfielder for them, and his coach at Mankato when he played, Dean Boyer, like a legendary coach there. He's now a volunteer assistant at Augie. Helps out.
Oh, really?
Augie. Yep.
Oh, that's wild.
So it's I would call it a friendly rivalry. You know, Tim obviously has connections there, but it seems like every year they're the two teams.
Yep.
So in baseball, at least, that's become sort of the big rivalry is Augustana and Mankato. Now Mankato's coming here. They're the team that knocked them out of the conference tournament after I think Augie swept them in Mankato during the regular season. So there's just all sorts of, you know, factors and things going into it. I'm going out there tonight. I'm going to bring Jen and Arthur. And
it's a 2 out of 3, right?
Yep, it's a best of 3. So tonight they play at 6, and then game 2, I believe, is tomorrow at 1. And if the same team wins those first 2 games, it's over. If they need a game 3, then that'll be immediately after on Saturday. So yeah, like I said, weather's great. I mean, it's a high level of baseball. I know it's Division II, but you go out there, those guys are throwing 92 miles an hour. They're hitting the ball over the fence. Augustana and Mankato both put a ton of guys in pro baseball the last few years. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, go out to Ronkin Field. That's going to be fun.
Going to be a great atmosphere. And, you know, come on, people, it's baseball. It's the best game God ever invented. Let's be serious. What could be worse? What could be better than that? So that's you're going to be covering that. So watch for that on Sioux Falls Live.
Well, and then also Saturday is the high school baseball state championship. So
that's right.
If we have if there is a deciding game 3, a rubber game on Saturday, I'm going to have to get creative because the high school championship game is at the Birdcage.
Do we know who's in it yet?
Jefferson, Brandon, Pierre, and damn it, I can't remember who the 4th one is. What they do is they have a 4-game format, and it's all in one day. So they have the semifinal, and those 2 teams that win play again for the championship. They do it all in one day.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So that's Saturday.
Yes.
At the Birdcage. Well, that'd be fun too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How is the new? I haven't been to the Birdcage since they put in the turf.
It looks great. It makes for a much better playing surface. But you know, the Birdcage is kind of it's getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
There's a reason that the Canaries want a new stadium so badly. You know, the turf and the new video board they put out in right field, those have definitely spiced it up a little bit. But I think you can just tell that even for the high school and college teams that play there, it isn't like, oh wow, this place is great. So you know, I certainly don't like bagging on the Birdcage because it's kind of the park I grew up going to. That was my high school home field when I played Legion ball 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was. But it's just, and not, you know, I guess it's a nice enough field for high school or amateur. But if you look in the Canaries League now, they're in a league with Chicago, Kansas City, Milwaukee, all these, you know, big markets, and they have brand new stadiums that are basically AAA caliber ballparks. It's not up to snuff. And that's part of the reason the Birds stink every year.
Players don't want to play there.
Yeah, it's really tough for Mike Meyer to get someone to come out there. He's either got to wait for scraps or try to out-recruit Milwaukee, Kansas City, Chicago. That's tough to do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what their future is. I hope it's good. It's going to be a tough pull to get public financing for a baseball stadium.
I think it's you remember when the Twins went through this? It took them years to get. They started asking for a new stadium before the dome was even old. Understandably, the dome sucked. It was a football stadium. But for years, it was like, there's no way the Twins are getting a new ballpark. Like people in Minneapolis are just like, no, we just don't want to.
Yep.
Eventually, they got their way. We don't need to get into the politics of it. But the difference there is that's Major League Baseball.
Yep.
I feel like in Sioux Falls, the community's appetite or attitude towards the Canaries is sort of similar to what the Twin Cities was towards the Twins back then. It's like, yeah, we'd like to see you get a new ballpark.
Yeah.
We know you need a new ballpark.
Yeah.
We just don't really want to pay for one.
Right. It's going to be tough.
And the difference here is it's not Major League Baseball. That was the thing the Twins had. It was like, you want Major League Baseball or not?
Yeah.
Well, what are the Canaries going to say? Do you want American Association Baseball or not? Not. I think there's some people that will say, yeah, I'm not going to miss that.
The wild card here is, and I don't know anything about anything, but all I know is that whenever you see a artist rendering of the next phases of the Sanford Sports Complex, there is what looks like a bigger baseball stadium in there. Now, I don't know if they really have. Obviously, they just built some fantastic fields for youth sports out there.
Mm-hmm.
Those baseball and softball fields are tremendous. Whether or not they want, I don't know why they would want to get into that game. A 4,000 seat baseball stadium. I don't know who it would be for.
I suspect if there's ultimately going to be a stadium out there, a full blown, the idea is perhaps getting into affiliated minor league baseball.
Yeah.
The Canary, I get it, where the Canaries are coming from. I would be in the same situation as them, like trying to get a new ballpark, pushing for a downtown ballpark, pushing for something that's kind of theirs, so to speak. But at some point, they might have to cut their losses and say, hey, that's just not going to happen. Can we get involved in this project going on out at the Sanford thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I was going to say before you brought that up, and I'm glad you did, because that's a big part of this conversation. But if that were not part of the calculus here, I've said a lot of times what the future of baseball in Sioux Falls might be is that you just got to go without it for a few years to get people to miss it.
That's true.
Because people just
they take it for granted.
And you go out to a Canaries game and there's just nobody there. People can. You ask 100 different people why they don't go to Canaries game, you'll get 100 different answers.
Yep.
I think the long and short of it is just we're used to it.
Yeah.
There's no novelty to it anymore. And plus, in the summer, it's one thing trying to get people to go to games on Friday or Saturday or something, but they get all these home games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's like that's a tough sell. People are
youth sports.
Yeah, I used to like to go to those Monday night games because I had nothing better to do and I knew I could get a good seat.
Yep.
I got kids now. I'm taking my kid to his games.
Yep.
Or you want to go to the lake, or you want to go do this, that, and the other. It's just really tough. It doesn't hurt that the Canaries are charging too much money for their tickets because they're trying to make money. I get it. They're losing money because no one's going to the games. But I kind of wonder if it's just like, all right, at some point the Canaries fold up the tents, which would be tragic, to be clear.
They've been here for
that
so
team
long.
has a huge, huge history.
Yep.
But if that happens, then it's like, okay, you go 2, 3, 5, 7 years, however long. It's like we're a city of 250,000 people. We don't have a minor league baseball team anywhere. Now that the Twins have moved their AAA team to St. Paul, their AA team is in Wichita, I wonder if the door isn't cracked open a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the answer to people's was, why do we have an affiliated team? Because there's no league.
Yeah, it's too far
in the footprint. They'd be flying everywhere. You don't have money to fly in A ball or double A ball.
No.
You can't be.
They're bus leagues.
Yeah, but now are there enough teams moving around that to where maybe you could make it work? One of the Twins affiliates is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yeah,
that sounds close, but Cedar Rapids is like 7 hours away.
it's
far
6.
eastern Iowa.
It's 6, and all those teams in that league
are even further east. Like
Clinton,
that Iowa team is the farthest west.
Yeah,
team.
but they're all. Kenosha, Clinton, Iowa. They're all right around there.
Yeah,
they're within easy driving distance. That makes a big difference.
That would probably be their in. I thought there were some rumors that when the Twins sent their AA team to Wichita, and I'm not sure what the geography is of that league, but that Sioux Falls was in the discussion there of being the AA team instead of Wichita. But as we've seen, this is all very fluid.
Yep.
Minor league teams, affiliates move all the time.
Yep.
So, and I think the Twins, it's clear they recognize what a huge. I almost think it's unfair. I can't almost believe that Major League Baseball allows it for the Twins to have their AAA team in the same town as their Major League team. Think what an advantage that is, just having guys come back and forth.
Yep.
And not even just the money you're saving on travel and everything, but like I was even having this conversation with a buddy of mine. We were talking about, I bet it makes it easier to like emotionally to demote a guy.
Yeah.
It used to be like, hey, sorry, we're sending you to AAA. Get on a plane and get the hell out of here.
Yeah. In Laredo.
Now you don't even have to move. When you stay in
Right.
the same apartment building
Yep.
or a hotel room, and it's like, hey, if somebody gets hurt, we'll call you. You just come back in. Like you can still hang out with the same guys at night after
Yep.
the games.
You're in the
that's,
Twin Cities.
That's such an advantage.
Yeah.
And Wichita's not too far from the Twin Cities, but it's down there.
Yeah.
It's probably 10 hours from Minneapolis, something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. So I wonder if the Twins don't look at their situation in St. Paul and go, God, this is so great. And then think, man, if we could get one of our affiliates in Sioux Falls too,
Yeah.
particularly AA, because you're never really going to call someone up from A-ball to the majors or
Right.
anything.
But when they're doing rehabs and
Right.
stuff like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I mean, that's
Well, and then even just it's easier for your scouts to travel there.
Oh,
or your
yeah.
GM or whoever wants to go there. I mean, it would be nice to see if something like that could maybe be
Yep.
on the table at
and
some
that's
point.
it's a 4-hour drive, but it's a 25-minute flight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so easy. That would be great. The location, like you say, I don't know what league Wichita's in. It's got probably Oklahoma and Texas and
Yeah.
all that. But I keep thinking that the only way it would happen is if we could somehow punch above our weight and get into AAA, because then you've got
St. Paul.
St. Paul, Des Moines, Omaha.
Yep.
I mean, they're all right here, location wise. But
Would
those-
Sioux Falls support a AAA team? I mean, I think
that's tough.
well, if you have a new stadium and
Yep.
you're an affiliated AAA team, at least initially,
People
are
would
gonna
go,
crazy about it. It's going to
Yep.
be a big deal.
and that would require a new stadium, and maybe, again, we don't know anything.
I mean, have you seen St. Paul's Stadium?
I haven't been to the new one. I've seen it, but I haven't been to it.
I've been to a game there. It's basically a major league stadium, just
A little
smaller.
smaller.
Yeah,
I was
I
at
think
the
it
old
holds
place.
9,000 or something. Well, that was a dump.
Yeah.
That made the birdcage look nice. Yeah, I mean that would be ideal. But again, the Twins are taken.
Yeah.
The Cubs are taken. Who
Yep.
would you be the affiliate for? I don't even think Omaha is with the Royals anymore.
Aren't they?
I'm not sure. They were for years and years. Maybe
Yeah.
they just changed because they used to be the Omaha Royals.
Yep.
Now they're the Storm Chasers.
Oh, really?
But they might still be the Royals. I shouldn't. I'm not entirely certain on
Well,
that.
in Iowa, Des Moines is the Cubs, and that's
Have been
close to
forever,
them,
yeah.
and that works out pretty
I guess
well.
White Sox maybe or Cardinals or
Isn't
Cardinals is Louisville.
Louisville.
Is their AAA.
yeah, and which isn't far from St. Louis. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Colorado,
I think their AAA team is in Colorado.
really?
I think.
Well, they've got a lot of people.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
We're completely outside of our knowledge zone at this point.
Speculating on AAA,
AAA baseball.
Yeah.
We're dreaming, people. We're just dream a little dream with me.
And we should be clear. It's not. I know there's people out there that are like, oh, this independent baseball is stupid, and I want to affiliate.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm
No.
not saying I want the Canaries. I don't want the Canaries to fail. I've been rooting for and writing about how they can try and figure it out for years. That's just sort of the point.
Yeah.
You wonder at they've got these new. I think this is year 3. These new owners that have come in, and to their credit, they're spending some money.
Yeah.
They
Want to see something. You want to see a partnership.
But I mean,
And
I
get
think
that.
they did all. The previous owners were kind of like, whatever, throw the balls out there. Let's see what happens. Sell some beers.
Yep.
These owners have come in and said, hey, we're going to spend some money, try and make this a better product.
Yep.
They've done that. And I mean, the day they came in, I kind of remember saying privately, like, well, it's not going to take long for you to cut your bait and leave.
Yeah.
We'll see how far away that is. I feel like this community has made its point. At
Yep.
this point. Like we're only so invested in independent minor league baseball. There's
Yep.
only so much you can do. It's not the front office's fault. It's not even the fact that the team stinks. That's not really has much to do with it either. It's just I think this product has hit its peak or whatever in Sioux Falls, and I don't know if
The
everything we just
economics,
got done saying.
the economics of it are really tough. I don't know what's going to happen with the district down there
Mhm.
on 10th and Cliff, but I got a pretty good feeling it's not going to be a baseball stadium.
Yeah.
People don't want a baseball stadium there.
I think it's telling that league, the American Association, which used to be the Northern League,
Yep.
has continued to move into these larger markets. Because you remember when the Northern League came here in
Mhm.
1993,
It was
St.
quaint.
Paul was the only big market.
Yeah, with Duluth.
Duluth, Sioux City, which is still in there.
Yep.
Madison had a team. There were some other ones in there. Fargo. Which is
I went
still
to a game in Duluth once, and it was that
there.
place.
Wade Stadium, I think it was
Yeah.
called.
Oh man, that was
or maybe that was
tough.
Winnipeg. I'm not sure.
no Wade Stadium in Duluth. I went to a game in Winnipeg too before they had a stadium. They played in the Blue Bombers old
Oh, really?
football stadium.
Really?
It was really weird.
Huh.
It was really, really weird.
Well, the point is when that league, like they had St. Paul, okay, but they were almost sort of their own separate entity. The whole
Yep.
Mike Veck,
Yep.
whatever. With the other towns, when they first tried moving into some bigger markets, you're like, what are they doing?
yeah.
That's never going to work.
Yeah.
Well, now they're all
there.
So I think what they've almost discovered is if you're not affiliated, if you're going to try and make this independent thing work,
Yep.
you have to be in a big city where you can sort of appeal to a different clientele.
Suburban.
Yeah, like, hey, we know you're a Royals fan,
Yeah.
but you can't afford to go to a Royals game more than once a year. So,
Especially with your kids.
yeah, so if you like baseball, come to a T-Bones game.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the future of that league. And I think that's why it's been such an uphill battle for the Canaries is they just don't have that same
Right.
that they can't necessarily do what those other franchises are doing.
Well, on that happy note, anything else that you're covering soon? What should we look for?
I'm not at the track meet this weekend. So
How long has that been? Well, nothing better than a high school state track meet to suck up about 4 days of your life.
yeah, but the guys at the Republic are doing a
They're
great
doing
job covering that.
fantastic job.
Go to Mitchell Republic Sports for their coverage, but I think we'll probably put some of that on Sioux Falls Live too.
Yeah, I gotta go do some browse and figure out what I should pull out of there. But
Yeah.
they're watching that for us, so we
I will
appreciate
have
that.
I caught up with Jacob Knuth yesterday, the Harrisburg quarterback who just committed to Kansas State.
Oh yeah,
So look for that. That'll be online shortly as well.
yeah, very soon.
Cool story there. I mean, he was until 1 year later, the kid from Pierre came along. Jacob Knuth was probably the best quarterback we'd ever seen come out of South Dakota. Went to Minnesota. They fired their offensive coordinator right after he got there. So not a surprise that he left. Hopefully he can make it work at Kansas State.
Go Wildcats for you Knuth fans out there.
EMA, isn't that what they say? I don't even know
I
what
don't
that means. But
I know people that are fans.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to them. Anyway, thank you to Shenanigans for letting us hang out here again. The deck is open. It's beautiful out. Thursday night's the big deck party. I saw the Cartwright brothers were here last night. That's always interesting. No, they're friends of
on a
mine.
Friday night with this kind of weather, this place is gonna be popping
Gonna be
tonight.
juice tonight. So thank you guys. We'll be back soon. Thank you all. Thank you, Matt. See ya.